diagnostic, do you then determine if you bring the truck back to your facility and work on it yourself, or typically since it's there, you allow International to do it? Where I'm going with this is, will you be able to actually perform more repairs if you can diagnose at your shop?
Correct. We would perform more repairs. Traditionally, right now, when we do send it in International, if our mechanics are able to do the repair themselves, the vehicle is returned to Public Works and repaired there.
So you'll do the same number of repairs either way. It's just a matter of getting the truck there, paying for the diagnostic, and bringing it back, assuming it's
Correct.
in a
It would
condition to
greatly
bring it back.
decrease the downtime in the vehicles.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Coles?
On automobiles, they have what they call an OB2 computer system, and they started in 1995 and have gone up to 2007. So that's over a period of about 12 years that they've used the same computer. Now, 2008 is OB3, so they've changed the computer and they went to software. And this is the reason why you have to have a new computer. Now, I don't know if what International is using. That I don't know because I don't work on trucks. But I would say if they use the computer for the last 5-6 years in the trucks, they will continue to use that computer because they haven't changed the design. So I would say it'd be a good 10 years before they change the computer in the truck. I'm only assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming that you'd have at least 10 years of service out of this piece of electronic equipment. So I've used mine for 12 years, and mine goes back all the way back to 1980 when they first came out. So, I mean, that piece of equipment's paid for itself many times.
Okay, Mr. Nuzio?
John, now that you said it's 260 a visit, I mean, it's basically each truck going in 4 to 5 times at most a year. But is there a maintenance agreement with this machine? I mean, I don't know how long these machines last. Are we paying, is there upkeep on the machine every year, like a contract, maintenance contract also?
Currently, I believe we only have one street department vehicle that has a warranty that's left on it, which is 225, which is currently not either one of these International vehicles. The new 236 vehicle that was brought before council and approved back a month and a half ago, that one obviously will have a warranty. I do not know that warranty time limit. I believe since we are a municipality, I'm sure it's 12, 24 months in that neighborhood. I could come back to you with that information.
Actually, I was talking about the warranty on
The machine.
the machine itself.
I apologize. I don't have that information.
And just one follow-up, expanding on what Alderman Kadala was asking. So naturally, if we do more work in-house, I know you were saying we were a little tight with the 2 mechanics. This is where the 3rd mechanic would come in, or because you were talking about hiring another mechanic here, right?
Correct. Not solely for just the International vehicles. Obviously, during snow season, that's when these vehicles see their prime use. And obviously they do go down at that time. We do have issues with them. This diagnostic tool would definitely be utilized predominantly in the wintertime for flashing codes on those vehicles. The increased vehicle mechanic would also be utilized for all other repairs of the 100+ rolling stock that we have and the myriad of different other equipment, pumps, saws, portable tools that are brought to our vehicle maintenance department every day.
Christine Winger?
Of the 15 times or so that we had diagnostics run in the past year, of those, like, how many would you say came back here to get work done versus stayed at the place?
12.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mr. Knight?
Yeah, can we hadn't done with this one? Can we go to line item 46021, capital outlay improvements? Okay, in 07, we had like 22,500, and then it drops down to 7,000 in 08. Then we budgeted 28,500, and it looks like this year it's going to be, 7,000 again, and then we're back up to 28,000. why the fluctuation if we're not using that much? Why are we budgeting that much? And what exactly is the fleet management software?
Absolutely. We had last year's budget included $28,000 for the purchase of fleet management software. The fleet management software would link our current Springbrook system and our parts inventory, the work orders that our mechanics work off of, all into one system. Unfortunately, last year, we did not do any research on the purchase of that. At the time I came in, I was unaware of that purchase. At the time of budget preparation, we found that we were deficient in this area and it was not purchased. At that time, we decided to put the money back into the budget, and in order to re-explain that, yes, we still need this software. The current software we're working off of was designed in the 80s by a previous supervisor based on a DOS-based a DOS-based program that is fairly archaic. It really does not allow us to do any sort of work orders via the computer. Everything is handwritten. All parts inventories are done in an antiquated fashion with printed reports. In order for us to progress as far as preventative maintenance programs, parts inventory, tracking of the repair items that are used so frequently, it only behooves this department to try and look at getting a software to be able to do that. And I apologize, it was not purchased last year. It was something that fell between the cracks.
Well, what did we buy in 07 that was almost, like 22,500?
If I had to take a guess, I believe we replaced one lift within Public Works. That was an in-ground lift, and I want to say that was in the neighborhood of $15,000. So that could have taken up the bulk of that money.
So that wasn't software purchased at that
Correct.
time?
No, that was just an improvements. And again, I just know when that lift approximately went out, so I'm guessing with that 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Coles,
I got one more thing on 42090 where it says dues and subscriptions. I see that says all data. Now, if you're wondering why you should have this machine, is because an all data is a disc that comes with all the parts and all the stuff, how to replace something on the truck. And he gets a code number on the truck, and he punches that code number in, and he can get a printout on what has to be done on the truck. So you've already bought the equipment called All Data, and you need this piece of equipment
Okay.
in order to go along. If you don't get it,
okay.
You need it.
I'm going to recommend that $10,000 equipment go back in the budget. Everyone in favor of that?
Aye.
Against? Okay,
It's back in.
back in 10,000 back in the budget.
Thank you.
Anything else on that account? Storm sewer maintenance?
This is pretty much a status quo budget. Again, we moved some bodies around a little bit, so you see a little change in the number of employees, but it's basically maintenance mode. No requests for additional services or projects.
Newsy.
We're on the storm sewer maintenance, right?
Yeah.
Right on the first page, we're showing basically no employees, but under the narrative here, utilities division, got 10 guys posted down there. Staff consists of one supervisor, 2 senior heavy equipment operators, heavy equipment. Something wrong here?
This point 92, is that right?
Right under the narrative.
Yeah, then the storm sewer maintenance division, if you notice on the top, the utilities supervisor actually supervises this division and the utilities division in the water fund. So that narrative, if you add
Wrong.
both of the departments together, you'll get to that head count. But if it'd be clear, I can clean this up and just represent what's in this particular
So
division.
these guys
versus
are actually in
in the
other
water fund
departments.
as well. Yeah, they flip back and forth sometimes, but I can clean that up for you on the final draft.
Basically, nothing changed in here except raises. Mayor Johnson.
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. Approving those other two previous funds, did you just approve the new supervisor position?
No.
Where
get
is
that
it
for-
then, if it's not in those two?
We haven't got that far yet.
New supervisor position does come in play in both the vehicle maintenance and the street divisional budgets.
So I just wanted to point that out to you. I'm not sure if that was the intent of the committee or not.
No, I thought the question was asked to Wally that we were going to bring that up towards the end of the budget.
Well, I think he
I thought
meant when we
Christine-
got past administration.
Okay. Well, then we need to discuss that. And my recommendation is not to hire a supervisor position, put it on hold until we find out what's going on with the contract. I mean, Mr. Nuzzo,
I'll go along with that.
everyone in favor of not hiring that supervisor at this time? Mr. Cadal?
By not having the supervisor in place, Mr. Kramer, does that mean that then the individuals within the vehicle maintenance division are reporting directly into you?
No, they would currently report as they do to the plant maintenance supervisor, which currently is the one right now and in the past who supervised both plant and vehicle maintenance.
Okay, so it's not quite as simple as going back to the Public Works Administration chart and plucking out the streets and vehicle maintenance supervisor. There's a temporary and conditional dotted line, so to speak, to the plant maintenance supervisor. Like you say, it's where they're reporting now, and it's where they would continue to report should this position not be filled at this point in time.
Once upon a time, we used to have two supervisors, one in charge of plant maintenance and one in charge of vehicle maintenance. The vehicle maintenance supervisor retired. At that time, it was chosen not to rehire that position. We had the plant maintenance supervisor oversee both maintenance divisions, vehicle and plant maintenance. So currently he does do that. He would have no longer done that at the time in which this position was hired and we trained that position. Then that supervisor would solely maintain plant maintenance, and the street and vehicle maintenance supervisor solely based on geography. Because he was in the same building as street department, we felt it was a better fit to have him supervise both vehicle maintenance and streets.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Everyone in favor of eliminating the supervisor's position at this time? Out of the budget?
Aye.
Anyone against? Nope. Supervisor's position will not be filled in this budget at this time. Okay. Stormwater maintenance division, is that
I thought we did that one.
any problems with that account?
We did that one. That's the one that.
Nope, then we'll move on. City services,
Central Services?
huh? I'm in central service, I'm sorry.
We've still got a couple into the water and sewer fund. Pardon? Let's go with water and sewer fund. So water and sewer administration tab.
Okay,
Water and Sewer Administration.
Right. That's pretty easy because there's no
Yep,
money in there.
there's no money in there. So that's done.
Okay, then we're in Public Utilities Division, which is the next tab. John has asked for one expanded level that I have recommended, and a couple that I've not recommended. The one that I have recommended is confined space equipment. And this is sort of near and dear to my heart. In my past job, when I was the manager in Wheeling, we had a fatality in the Public Works Department. One of our workers was working in a confined space, doing some sandblasting, and a hydraulic line broke, and he ended up inhaling carbon monoxide. And when we found him, he was gone. This is something that Department of Labor has a real big issue with. I think it's $15,500 of money well spent in terms of keeping our employees safe, and I would recommend that one. The other two, there's a request for a front-end loader at $77,000 and a dump truck at $98,000, neither of which I've recommended. So other than that one recommended addition in equipment, it's pretty much status quo budget.
Okay. I have no problem giving him the confined space equipment. That's what he recommends, so I would go along with that. Anything else? Nope. Okay.
And the next tab is wastewater division. This is up a little bit because, again, we moved some bodies around. There was a request for an additional maintenance worker, which I did not recommend. There was a request for some closed-circuit television equipment, which I also did not recommend.
Mr. Shark.
The South plant and North plant, the TVs, what would have been the reason for having those?
Originally, staff had recommended that since both facilities were unmanned 24 hours a day, and at times because of the South plant location and now at the North plant location, sometimes traffic around those areas is limited, and there was a concern about possibly some vandalism in that area. So we had put together a price to put closed circuit TV with just a DVD monitor taping the system at both those locations.
So they wouldn't be connected to the police department at all, just
At this time, we looked at just doing straight loops and taping it ourselves. If we wanted to get into that, we didn't examine what that cost increase would be to do that.
Thank you.
Wouldn't there be some type of grant money for this type of stuff with, Homeland Security and all that stuff in the water system available?
I can look into it.
If it's available, we'd look into it. I wouldn't recommend putting it in the budget right now, but if we can get some, if we can get some money for it, we certainly
Down the line, though.
we could certainly make a run on it.
Anything else? Okay.
Then the next one is Plant Maintenance Division tab. Again, we moved some people around. John has asked for an additional position. It's the only position that I have recommended for inclusion in this year's budget over and above what we've got right now. He's asked for a mechanic to be paid out of the water and sewer fund as opposed to the general fund. We presently have 2 mechanics. This would be a third. And partly because of the workload, partly because of the fact it's not coming out of the general fund, it's coming out of the water and sewer fund, I've recommended that this additional position be funded. This is the only additional one over and above our present staffing level.
John, can I ask you one question on that? How long, normally when a truck goes in, how many days is it down for our vehicle with the mechanics we have now? We're talking a couple days.
I think it would vary on the type of repair. If it was something like a plow vehicle, pretty much standing orders in Public Works right now is any plow vehicle that's down, that takes precedent over anything except a police department vehicle. So traditionally, those vehicles are fast turnaround, depending on a repair. A few days, 2-3 days, I'd feel comfortable saying.
But we do the police squad cars, everything, right? This is every city vehicle we do our garage, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Nuzio?
The only question I have is, how much are we spending on outsourcing, sending these cars out or whatever, because if we are falling behind? I mean, because you're saying about 49 work orders a week. 2 guys, it's 25 work orders, 5 a day, depending. Some might take an hour, some might take all day. Just curious how much is being sent out.
Currently, the items we send out would be like a transmission rebuild, paint and body work. Those items are never going to be done at Public Works, because we don't have the equipment to do that. It's the production shops that do a transmission repair, paint and body work. Those, maybe Alderman Coles could probably even speak more to it than I, are trained in doing that every day. They work on those transmissions. We don't have the safety precautions needed to have a spray booth, et cetera. So those items would never traditionally be done at Public Works. Either way, they would still be outsourced. There are some vehicles at times when we are busy, we will send out. At the top of my mind, I know we sent out one oil pan to be repaired this year because it needed to have almost the entire engine lifted out of the vehicle in order to replace the oil pan where the axle was located. Perhaps if we had another body, we would not have had to send that out. We could have done that in-house. The problem is with these longer duration repairs, they tie up a mechanic for a day and a half, 2 days. What happens then if we have somebody that perhaps has a vacation day, a sick day, has to leave? We have no mechanic in the shop working on an item. So that's the concern as well. But also just for the plain and simple fact of we get 5 work orders on average a day. A vehicle takes a day to 2 days. Understand that there is going to be a backlog, especially in times when it's wintertime. Vehicles are in high demand. They're out on the road. They break down. They then have to move off of the vehicle they were once working on, go to that snow vehicle, go to that police vehicle, repair those, and then come back to it. So we're always seem to be fighting an uphill battle. There's always vehicles carried over month after month. My vehicle maintenance staff sends me weekly reports on our snow fighting equipment. We still have 7 pieces of snow fighting equipment that have not been fixed. We haven't had a significant snowfall in over 4 weeks.
Christine Winger?
Thank you. I'm hesitant to bring on any new staff in this time. Like, I don't ever want to be in the position where we'd have to lay someone off. And the economic times are not good right now, so I'm really hesitant to do that. And it's not to say that we couldn't look at this again in 6 months from now. I'm not afraid to review it halfway through. But I'm definitely not comfortable adding it now. Thank you.
Any other discussions on that? Good night.
Yeah, I take that opposite view. When I was with Federal Express, I mean, we had a large fleet, and when a vehicle would go in for preventive maintenance, it's not your truck to give you a spare. Most of the time, you were missing the equipment, which became a problem for the driver then to fulfill their duties that day. And I think establishing a preventive maintenance program or having an additional person to do, instead of waiting for your oil changes to go to the 4,000 or 5,000 miles instead of 3, have it there. The preventive maintenance could save a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of vehicle breakdown. I would be for it. I think it would be well worth it. I go with the city manager on this one.
Mr. Coles?
I I would go with the city manager on this too. Preventive maintenance means a lot. If you take care of the vehicles that you have, you reduce all the downtime in a vehicle. He's talking about transmissions. Well, transmissions is a specialty, and the average mechanic don't pull them out anymore because they're electronics and they got all kind of relays in them, and they got to be preset and everything like that. They also have to be set by computer. So a lot of the transmissions are computerized. I go along with the manager on this. They should always have, because if a car came in and had a flat tire, it takes the man time to take the tire off, put a new tire on, and put it back on. So I mean, he might be changing spark plugs at the time. And here comes a squad car with a flat tire, and the squad car is going to go back out right away. So he has to get off of that. So this new mechanic is like another helper, another hand. So I think he should have it.
Mr. Cadala?
Yeah, I agree. Not only do you decrease with a better preventative maintenance program, you potentially decrease your downtime of vehicles, but you potentially increase the vehicle lifespan, and you can also decrease the severity of the problems. I mean, if you have a vehicle, you have to keep running it. You know you've got a problem. It keeps getting deferred. Eventually, that problem could get worse and cost more to fix. So, I see it as a financial asset to do this.
Mayor Johnson?
This would be a second mechanic handling the fleet?
This would be a third mechanic. Currently, we have 2 mechanics. This would be a third.
The average, according to your statement here, is 49 work orders per month. So if there's 3, that would be, there's 22 work days per month. So it's less than 1 work order per employee per day. So what kind of work orders, what are they doing?
The work orders could range from a simple repair on a tire to a preventative maintenance check, which would be a full vehicle check, which would include all fluids, pull the tires off, take a look at the brakes, take a look at the clearances that perhaps are on that drive shaft, hook it up to the computer, check diagnostics, or they could be working on a small pump that was brought over by the street department. They could be working on an asphalt patcher, a backhoe, a front end loader.
But none of those seem like it would take 1 mechanic 1 day to do.
In time-wise, meaning it's too short or too long?
They're taking too long to accomplish the project. Not to disparage any of the employees, but if you're saying 3 employees and there's 49 work orders per month, there's 22 work days per month, so that would be less than 1 job per day. So it'd take a day and a half to do 1 job, and you just talked about the jobs of changing the oil or changing the tires or checking the tolerances. It just doesn't seem.
Some of the jobs that I cited are fairly routine. Other jobs may take, even a preventative maintenance may take a good 5 hours of an employee's day, or perhaps a diagnosis may take 3 hours to do once they get the vehicle apart, and to the point where they could diagnose it. They then have to wait for a part. The part then has to be reinstalled. So the vehicle could be in the shop for upwards of 4 days, but in essence, the time they worked on it was less than a full 8 hours.
But it's 1 work order is less than a day. But you've got 66 then work projects with 3 mechanics, but your average is only 49. So it's taking you more than it's like a day and a half to do a project with 3 mechanics.
All I can say is, I guess our vehicle mechanics, most of the projects they work on take a day or more to work on.
Well, then let me go back to you. Let me ask the question again. What is the average thing they're working on? What are they doing? And then I'll ask Joe, does that take a day and a half?
Okay, that's what I was going to come up with
Well,
right now.
let me ask him the question first. What is the projects they're working on?
All right, if